Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl Naisha Stone, and we back with another episode of CNS IG Live with positive Black women. And I am so excited because if you're a fan of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then you should be joining in because we have Daphne Reid who just joined us, so I'm about to add her in. And I always have trouble doing this. There we go. There we go. Hi.
Hello.
Hey, Daphne. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm smiling so much. This is awesome.
Let me
So
fluff up here.
you look great. So if you're joining in right now, my name is Naisha Stone, and I'm the founder of Carving Stone. We're your weekly source of positive news. And since the beginning of June, we've been hosting CNS IG Live with positive Black women, where I interview different Black women who've been doing positive stuff throughout life. And today we have a very, very special guest. We have Daphne Reid, who most people know her as Aunt Viv from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We've met before, but this is my first time actually seeing you. So hello, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I got a nap in, so I'm feeling really energized.
Oh, you're a lucky girl.
Where are you heading? I see you in the car. What you been up to
We
today?
just finished dinner. I had dinner with my granddaughter, and we just finished dinner, so we're on our way home.
What you eat?
Sushi.
I love sushi. I had the best sushi when I went to Hawaii.
Ah, yeah. Sushi's great.
Cool. So let's get into the interview. So, for one, you are a history maker, so you accomplished a lot within your career. I know most people are very interested in your time on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So when I had did some research, I found out that you actually were offered the role first, but you turned it down. So could you?
No,
So could you
no. That you misread.
really?
I was offered an audition, as were a lot of other people, and I did not want to do the audition. That's
You
the
didn't want to
only
do it.
turning down that happened.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I
And then
did
you
not
turned
want
down.
to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you turned
The
down the
way you
audition.
stated it, I was offered a job. I was not offered the job.
Got you. Yeah, so you offered to audition and then you kind of turned it down. So what made you, after those, those couple of years went by, what made you go back? And because I know they called you to re-audition, but what made you say yes that time?
The show was cute. I couldn't conceive of the show when I first heard of it. I wasn't interested in doing a half-hour sitcom with a little young rap star. That wasn't in my realm of possibility of thought. I just wasn't interested in doing that. I had just done a lot of wonderful television, and I thought that that would be a step back rather than a step forward. But when I saw the show and saw how wonderful it was, they called again, and I had changed my mind.
I love it. I'm glad you changed your mind because you played an iconic
I
role.
am too.
You really embodied it. Do you have any favorite moments of being on the show? Like, is there like a favorite episode or that you can recall?
No, my favorite time was when I first got there and the warm greeting that they all gave me, and a couple of dozen red roses and warm hugs and respect for the work that I had done on television. So that was probably my favorite time.
So I was born in 1996. So that's when the show actually ended. But what was it like to play on the show and then like all the fame that was around the show? Like how was that? Like you were playing Aunt Viv, so like what reactions were you getting like when you go outside? Like 'cause like you were famous before there, but when you gained a new fan of audience, like young people, like how was that fame for you? Did it change at all?
They did not have social media back in 1996. Sorry, dear. If you didn't see us on television and read the ratings that you got, that was the only way we knew that anybody was watching the television show. So I was warmly greeted. I had a good time. I never have been a person to be stopped in the street because they've seen me on television. It's very rare that that happens. I don't quite look like I do on television. So people just don't recognize or just don't want to bother me. But I've not had anything but positive response since we came back with the reunion that we did in 2020. That's when I realized how iconic the show actually was, and that it's been on the air since we went off the air. It has constantly been on television. So people, the third generation of folk, are watching a show that we did 30 years ago.
How does that feel for you now to find out, like, all these years, like, wait a minute, we did actually make a huge impact?
It's a lovely feeling, yeah, but that is the past. I'm on to next.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's speed up to, like, the future now. So let's fast forward. I first met you when you I interviewed you for your cookbook a few years ago. So you became an author. So I know that's a little bit in the past, but have you been working on any other books, or, like, what's kind of new for you now?
I have written 4 books and the cookbook. And the cookbook was the last book that I wrote. The first few books were books about my photography around the world. I take pictures of doors, and I consider doors a metaphor for life. So I want to share with you what I see in a door and hopefully convince you to dream beyond just going on a journey from A to B. I want you to pay attention to the details in the journey so that you can enrich your life with a lot of small details that really, really enriches the experience of going from A to B.
That's interesting. I never thought of a door that way. Like how long have you been taking pictures of doors? And do you remember that moment when what was it about a door that symbolizes that for you? Like, was there a specific moment or anything? Like, what is it about, like, the door?
I studied interior design and architecture and have always been drawn to the details of architecture. And in my international travels, I noticed a lot of craftsmanship and color and texture with different doors, and I started taking a single shot of a door. And I realized years later, I'm talking, it had to be 15 years later, that I had a whole lot of pictures of doors. And I decided, a friend of mine suggested that I do a gallery showing. And I said, you have to be a photographic artist to do that. And she said, do it anyway. So I found a gallery, I did a showing, and it took off. And I started selling my prints and kept telling stories about the doors, and decided to stop telling all the stories in real life and go ahead and write it down. So it became my first book called Doors. And then I had 3 more books of doors from the years of travel that I had taken. And then the pandemic hit, and I couldn't travel. So I did other things with my doors, and I kind of got the cookbook off of my computer because I've been writing that cookbook for 40 years.
My dad, he builds doors, so that's interesting that you bring up the importance of doors, because he can break down the details of, like, how things, like, are built, but you like to examine that what's already there. So I think that's beautiful within itself. So I don't know.
I like makers. I like craftsmen. I like the art of making something with your own hands. And a lot of doors reflect artistry. And I want to share that with you so that you'll notice the artistry in all the little details of your life and start paying attention to those details. That's all I want you to do, is just look a little more closely.
You had brought up social media earlier, like how it wasn't around back then. And so I feel like the issue our generation has is that we always in everybody else's business, so we never get to focus on the details. And so we kind of have, like, this addiction. So you keep saying, focus right now, like, what's in front of you, be present, kind of be in nature, just focus. And I think that's something our generation misses out on, especially like myself. Like, we get addicted to social media, always checking. But then you really never notice that bird that just flew by, or the woodpecker. I didn't know woodpeckers were so big. I went to the park and I did not know they were really that big. Like, they are huge. And so like look up at the sky. Like I think that's important. That's a great part. I don't think we pay attention to our
I think
surroundings.
you are missing it by looking at everybody else's life and not your own. Just live your life, get information from social media, but don't live there. Live in the present around you so that you can absorb new information, so that you can feel and taste and learn how to interact with people on a one-to-one basis. Learn how to read body language. You guys don't know how to do that because you're not used to being around actual people.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I agree.
You have to learn those too.
No, I agree because there are a lot of times I see people like famous or viral on social media, and then you meet these same people and they're like this in the corner, or like that one person that's in the club and not dancing with anyone. And so yeah, so yes, we need to, as a generation, get out here and actually enjoy life more. So speaking
The
on it,
reality of life.
yes, the reality of life, not VR, actually being out here riding bikes, roller skating, something. What are some things that you enjoy life that bring you back to present, to the present day?
I like to sew, and I still sew and create, and I like to read. I like to interact with other people, having lunches and dinners and teas, and doing. I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations, and I like to do that.
Yeah, I saw that. I know you and your husband, Tim Reed, do. You guys have started a couple of things together. But I do want to talk about your philanthropy. So, have you always been a giving person, and how did you kind of incorporate that within the work that you do?
Being a given person is something that you learn as a child. Selfishness is not very rewarding, but giving and receiving is a wonderful way to live, and I've always lived that way. And when I'm interested in something, I like to delve into it, and in delving into it, I like to offer whatever talents or whatever they need from me to help them bloom into where they're going. So I usually find spots on boards that are of interest to me in what they do. I'm with the Richmond Ballet, and I've been with Culture Works. I've been with a lot of different organizations that were mostly art-based.
So this is on a board. So I'm on the Milwaukee Press Club, and it's just like a board to help other media companies and just fund other journalists. And I've been on it for about a year or so, but what makes a good board member? Sometimes I feel like I'm not sharing enough, or sometimes I feel like I don't fully understand. But what does it mean to be on a board?
Are you learning anything from the
Yeah.
other people that you're serving with?
Yes.
That's why you're there. And what you should be doing is giving them your point of view. So find a point of view. Have a point of view. Have a purpose for why you're on that board. What is your mission, and how does it fit with the board? And express yourself. Don't worry about being young. Don't worry about being, a lot of times you're the only black person on a board. They need to hear your voice, and you need to speak for your community. And that's what your job is on that board.
Okay, then I guess I'm doing my job, because every time we talk about funding, I'm like, okay, but how are we directly giving this to Milwaukee Black journalists? So okay,
yes, and you find ways. Help them find ways that they can give, because that's why they need you there.
I love it. So I know you stated earlier that you're moving forward, you stand in the future, but I just want to give you your roses. If you didn't know, Daphne Reid was the first Black woman to be on the cover of Glamour. So I thought that was so amazing. Like, I know you've talked about it a billion times before, but can you just explain like how that process went and like what it meant for you, honestly, like being on that cover? Or did it mean anything?
I was in college, and I was discovered by a modeling agency in New York from a picture that I did for 17 magazine in a Real Girl issue. And they liked the picture, and they asked me to register with them. I was in college in Chicago, and I was flying back and forth to New York to do what they called editorial pictures. You just go and you put on whatever they have for you to wear that they wanted to show in the magazine, and you're the nondescript model who's wearing that outfit. And it went on for a couple of years, and one of the trips that I went to New York, I was just told to go sit on the window and pull your hair over to the side and just put on some mascara, put on this red jacket, and I sat up on the window, and the man came, and I don't think he took a whole roll of film. And then my mentor said, okay, you can go back to school now. And I got back on a plane and went back to school, and was walking by the newsstand a couple of months later, and I saw my face on the cover of Glamour magazine. They had not told me that they were doing a cover. I had no idea that I was doing a cover. And I said, oh, this is pretty catchy.
What?
And then I went on with my schoolwork.
What? Did they ever contact you at all? Like, have they ever said thank you or what?
It was just another picture.
That's crazy. See, and then, but everybody says, like, oh, it's this history thing. And then, like, but they never even told you. That's crazy. Wow. I can believe it, though. I definitely can believe it.
I was in the right place at the right time on several occasions. And I became historic because nobody else had done what I had done before. It didn't do anything for me because I was just doing what I wanted or needed to do. It only became historic in hindsight that nobody had done it before. So it was nothing I was striving to. I wasn't looking to break barriers. It just happened. Wow. And I was blessed to be the one to do it.
Oh, that's dope, though, honestly. And you're throughout this whole time, you've just been like very humble. Have you always been that way, or like what keeps you humble?
I have to get up in the morning and brush my teeth just like everybody else does. It's not hard to be humble. You just remain yourself. I have to deal with everyday things just like everybody else. I don't make myself a celebrity. Other people make you a celebrity. If they want to consider me a celebrity, that's their choice. I'm not striving to be one. I just happen to be somebody who you all love, and I love that.
That is so cool. So what are you at this point in your life? Is there anything that you're striving for or that you want to achieve?
I want to travel some more now that COVID has quieted down. I'm very much of an adventurer, traveler, and I'm looking forward to getting back out there and doing that, more photography. I'm still sewing and designing, and I have a collection on my website, and I'm making tote bags of my doors, which are going over very well. I'm living each day as it is presented to me and enjoying every minute of it.
How do you focus on, so you live every day, right? You focus on the day. I feel like I stress myself out thinking about the future. Some people stress themselves out thinking about the past. But how do you stay in the present? Like are there any tips you have for like just keeping you stress free?
Yes. I don't believe in stress. It can kill you. No. Worry should not be in your vocabulary. If something is a problem, worrying about it does nothing. Either do something about it or let it alone and somebody else will do something about it. Worrying about it does nothing. So lose that word. Just don't even deal with it. Don't live in the past. You cannot relive that. It's done. You're finished. What's next? What's next is right now, not what's in the future. Set a goal. Go ahead and do a goal, but don't think that the goal is going to be a straight line from where you are to where you think you're going to go. You're going to go and you're going to meander, and the more meandering you do, the more you learn. Don't worry about it. You'll get to your goal, but you're going to get there the way God wants you to get there, not the way you want to get there.
Oh, I've been learning that. I never thought I'd be a journalist, and I never thought I'd be sitting here interviewing you, but me going to college somehow led up to this. So, yeah.
You never know where it's going to take you, but be open to the possibility and be prepared with some sort of purpose that you have in your life. If your purpose is to serve other people, you will find ways to serve. If your purpose is to try to accumulate all sorts of stuff and money, you can do that. It's not going to help your life any. It might make you a little happy, but in the long run, that's not what's going to bring you joy. What's going to bring you joy is your interaction with other people and the love that other people and you share. That is my essence of joy. I'm not concerned about what's next. What's next is what's next. I'm open, I'm adventurous, and I love to learn something new. So I'm always looking for new stuff.
Oh my God, I love that. You talk about relationships, but when the pandemic hit, a lot of people had to be alone. What was like when we was on shutdown? Like what was your life like for you? Were you still around your family? Was it just you and your husband, or how were you able to keep those connections still pumping?
The Screen Actors Guild has fabulous protocols for COVID-19. We were working. I was shooting films. I was shooting shows. I did not stay in one place. I took my precautions. I took my vaccines. I took my boosters. I wore my masks. I made masks. I made hundreds of masks. I sold masks. I was busy. Very busy during COVID. Everybody was sitting at home complaining, and I was out living.
And I see you still pushing it on because you just left dinner, so I love it. I love it. For the people that are watching, again, my name is Naisha Stone. We're with Carving Stone, your weekly source of positive news. Today we have Daphne Reid. Most of you know her from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and we're on our 3rd episode of CNS IG Live with positive Black women. For the people that are tuning in, if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the comments. They're having a lot of people just saying hey to you, and people saying they DMing you. I love it. When you do get off this call, I know you going home or whatever. What do you plan? How do you plan on settling out the night?
Let's see. I got up very early this morning to take my husband to the airport at 4:00 in the morning. So I'll be going to bed early tonight. Watch a little TV, read a book, and I'm done.
Are you into sports? Because have you been watching any of the finals games?
No, I like to see when Steph Curry plays. Every once in a while, I'll peek in and watch. But no, I'm not going to sit there and watch a game. That's not my style.
Well, I love it. I brought it up because there's 2 people on the Warriors who are from Milwaukee. So since we didn't make it, the Bucks, we're all cheering for the for the Warriors. Cool.
Good.
I love it.
Hello, Kush Show. How are you? That's one of my good buddies there. Kush. Yeah.
Whoa. Hey, everybody. This is awesome. Again, if you have any questions, definitely do put them in the comments. This is awesome. I love it. So I know you had appearance on Bel-Air, correct? The new version of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. How was that? And I know you say you love how they kind of redid the show. Could you talk a little bit about it?
I think it was a great reimagining of the same story, which is a fish out of water story of Will getting in trouble in Philadelphia and his mother sending him to stay with his aunt and uncle. Basic story. But in an hour format that they have, they're able to give you a rounded character. You can see more of what each individual character is like, which we could not do very much of on a half-hour sitcom. So it's an amazing group of people doing that show. The talent is incredible, and behind the scenes, the talent is as incredible. It was so refreshing to see so many of my people behind the camera and creating this wonderful gem that they're doing. It's worth all the time and effort that my husband and I have put into this business for the past 45 years. To watch how it has bloomed with our people is a very warming thing. And they treated me like a queen, so I was having a great time.
That's something that I've talked about on the podcast before, is how we need to further fund and support Black videographers, or just Black film, period, because a lot of times our shows are filmed by an all white crew, so it's hard for them to tell our story. So that's really awesome. Can you talk about how you and your husband, push towards something like Bel-Air?
We did shows back in the 70s and 80s that a lot of you don't know about because they lasted 1 or 2 seasons, but they were run by Black folk about a different kind of Black person, the kind that were professional people that could tell a normal, everyday story, and just because they were Black made no difference to the story. And we always tried, when we were producing, to make sure that the opportunities to become department heads, to lead a crew, were done by people of color, because we need to have the sensibilities to tell our own stories. We were very blessed on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because the writing room, we were allowed to help the writers get the nuances of our culture. They would write something like Tatiana, the youngest daughter, back talking to her father, and I said, I'm sorry, but the little girl wouldn't have any teeth if she talked to her father like that. We don't do that in our community. And they said, oh, and they were able to modify, so we got cultural nuance in the characters that you would not get with just the white writers in the room.
Are there any shows now with Black writers or Black production within these that you really, really enjoy watching right now, or in the last few years, or anything you can think of?
I love Queen Sugar.
Oh my God, I love that show.
Greenleaf. There's so many shows. Lots of shows.
That's the one. Yeah. Queen Sugar, and my mom loved that. There is a question. Can you recommend any documentaries that are important for us to see?
Anything about any interest that you have, look for that documentary. I can't help you with that. There are so many. There are history documentaries that you really need to know where you come from. Watch them. They're a little better for your mind than the yada, yada, yada that you find on YouTube. So find some good documentaries and watch them.
I got a documentary. I don't know the full title of it, but they're called The Black Press Soldiers, and it's about how the Black journalists, how when we took over, telling our own stories, how they impacted history. So the Black Paper Soldiers or something like that. But it's a really good documentary, and I've had my students watch it. So y'all should watch it. It's like 15 minutes or something.
Are you a member of NABJ?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Then you know a very good friend of mine, Dwayne Wickham, who used to write for the USA Today.
No, I actually don't, but I will definitely
look it up.
Yes, I actually I just moved to Georgia, so I just reached out to their chapter down here this morning. So I'm looking, if anybody's watching, I'm looking to get involved with more Black journalists in Georgia. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Good. So you're a good group. Keep it up.
Going back to the arts are a big part of Carving Stone. A lot of our funding that we actually give out goes into paying creatives. Our annual scholarship, 2 to 3 of our scholarships go to specifically funding creatives. So if you make art, if you make music, yada yada yada. Art has probably always been a part of your life. Like, what does art mean to you?
Art is an expression of whatever is in your soul. It is your individual touch to show the world. It is what you are made of. It is your gift from God that you need to express in order to honor God. And that's what I consider art.
Mm, I like that. Even though you haven't really been traveling, how often do you pick up your camera and take pictures? Is it an everyday thing, or like how
No. I'll pick up my scissors and sit by my sewing machine before I'll pick up the camera unless I'm going out of town.
I need to learn how to sew. I made a pillow in high school like years ago, and I messed up I like got my finger stuck in the machine, and I've just never
I
wanted to.
got my finger stuck in the machine. It didn't stop me.
It stopped me.
But you know where your finger is not supposed to go at this point, don't you?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes. My friend Eric, his mom, she got into sewing, so I paid her to actually buy sew me a quilt. Is there anything your favorite thing? What are like your favorite things to sew?
You have to look on my website. My favorite things are my Chinese silk coats that I make.
Okay. Check her website out, y'all. Definitely support.
DaphneMaxwellReed.com. It's real easy.
I love it. Well, I just actually have one more question for you, and it's how I end all my interviews. When people go back and rewatch this interview, what do you want them to get from it?
I want them to know that their life is in their own hands and that they should express themselves and share their gifts with anybody who will receive their gift. And pay attention to the details in your life. That's all I want to tell us.
Pay attention to the details. Thank you so much. And again, if you're just joining, this is Naisha Stone with Carving Stone, your weekly source of positive news. We had a very special guest, Daphne Reid, who most people know from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Make sure to tune in every Thursday of the summer for CNS IG Live with positive Black women. Daphne, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for letting me interview you years ago to letting me interview you today. It's a pleasure, and thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You again. You too. And be well. Thank you for inviting me back.
No, thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.